We talk a lot on this channel about super expensive variegated aroids. You've got the $38,000 Devil Monstera. You've got the $30,000 variegated Gloriosum. And then a few New Zealand and Australian Rhaphidophora tetraspermas that went for between like 15 and 25,000, and even some obliquas that went for between like 10 and 25,000, and of course Spiritus Sancti. But compared to markets like the Orchid, Rose, and even bonsai tree market, these prices aren't even that expensive. So apparently the Shenzhen Orchid, which was developed by a company for 8 years and is man-made, sold for $200,000. Apparently it was grown by an agricultural company out of China. And in 2005, the flower was sold at an auction by an anonymous bidder for 1.68 million yuan, or about 200,000 US dollars. But that's not the most expensive flower ever bought. And a quick search on the Shenzhen group that developed this plant out of China, a few people were saying that maybe it was kind of a clickbaity title just to get traction towards this plant. But this group out of China does have 15 total patents. So they're definitely working on some things. I can't speak to if this sale was legit, but I know that even on the Devil Monstera, I did get a couple DMs, which I won't disclose who sent me them. They're a reminder that this week's video is brought to you by Leaflux, our fertilizer you can get on Amazon Prime. If you're in the US, it takes 2 days to get to you. Check it out. We bottle it ourselves. We've made it and developed the recipe for the last 15 years. And it's only like 13 or 14 bucks on Amazon. I did get a couple DMs that were saying maybe that $38,000 price was kind of a local price that was drummed up in Thailand to make Westerners and Americans chase this Devil Monstera, even though that wasn't the actual price that the plant sold for. And it was mostly traded within local groups within Thailand, so that it kind of sets a price floor, like a precedent of 38,000 and above for the Devil Monstera. Because people really haven't been able to get their hands on it. Every time it gets posted, it says it's sold, which in this market in 2024, it's no longer 2020 and 2021. That might be going on with that Orchid that apparently sold for $200,000, but apparently it did sell for that. And piling on to the Orchid, which is even more impressive, but definitely more up my alley, I guess, maybe as I get older, is a bonsai tree that went for 100 million yen. So that equates to around $1.3 million. At least that was the exchange rate in 2011 when this Asia Pacific Bonsai Convention and Exhibition, this plant that apparently had really great roots, at least, it was grown by S-Cube. And S-Cube looks to be a Japanese grower of bonsai trees. And at least if you're paying $1 million for something, you're getting something with so much age and character. And these are really beautiful. I believe this is a pine tree that went for $1 million. And in the second day of the convention, the tree sported a sold sign, and it is a large white pine. Really cool looking, it has amazing bark. I could see if you had like a mansion having this in like the center atrium of your, massive compound, having this in your house would be really cool. Japanese maple looks really awesome. So all these plants were sold. White pine, Japanese maple. These are really cool. I could see myself getting old and like getting super into bonsai. Seems like a beautiful art of growing trees like in your home or in your backyard in a small confined space. This looks to be the grower of the $1 million bonsai tree. And this looks to be the exact tree. Look at the trunk structure. Yeah, this is the exact tree that he sold like 11, 12, 13 years ago for $1 million. That's really cool. And this is a 300-year-old tree. That's really, really awesome. That makes sense. 300 years old. Wow, that tree was like propagated or started from seed in the 1700s. Am I doing the math right? Yeah, 1700s. Yeah, that makes sense. $1 million for a tree from the 1700s that's like pruned and cropped like perfectly. It's beautiful. All the growth points are pointing upwards. No scraggly lower shoots. When I was doing some research for this, I kept coming across people bringing up the saffron plant as one of the most expensive plants, which is really cool because the saffron plant itself, I found, was actually quite cheap. So you can get the bulbs of the saffron plant itself for like $5 to $10 or so. But the struggle with saffron and why it becomes so expensive, it goes for about $5,000 to $10,000 per pound. The saffron itself is actually just the stigma of the flower. The red part coming out there, you can see on the screen. I believe this is the female part of the flower. Someone can check that for me or correct me if I'm wrong. Wow, so this is actually the saffron farms. So just the red part is what you harvest, and apparently it's really time consuming to like peel back the petals of the flower, and then it's processed by hand, which this is the expensive part. And then it's dried out and ground up. And this is one of the main ingredients in something like Spanish paella and has incredible health benefits. Now, what tops the list is the Juliet Rose, bred by David Austin out of the UK, I believe it is. From their Instagram, they say it takes around 12 years to breed an exquisite English rose. And the Juliet Rose, I know, can now be had for a reasonable price. It looks like $115 for a bouquet of them. But I guess this is kind of like an odd way around it, but they're saying it cost them around $5 to $15 million to develop this rose. So maybe that's not totally fair, but I would assume that the genetics of that plant are very expensive. Cuttings or seeds, I don't know how they propagate roses, but I assume the cuttings of that plant would be very, very expensive. The Juliet Rose was debuted at the Chelsea Flower Show in 2006, and it took them 15 total years to grow it. And they say it sold for a whopping $15.8 million, making it the most expensive flower. I don't know if this source is reliable, but $15.8 million either sold or invested. It's a very expensive plant to invest so much money in. But it looks like David Austin Roses knows exactly what they're doing. It's a very big account. And there you go. They're releasing the new Emma Bridgewater shrub rose, patented with looks to be some sort of patent or trademark number. So these are all protected plants. There is seriously big money in intellectual property within plants. And maybe we'll do a video on that coming up. The type of plants that you cannot take cuttings of because they're protected by plant patents. Thanks you guys for watching this week's video, and I'll see you in the next one.